The campus of Umpqua Community College in Southern Oregon will reopen this morning, days after 9 people died in a campus shooting. Grief counselors will be on hand, but classes will not resume until later in the week. Police are still investigating the gunman's motives. He took his own life after a brief shootout with police. Joining us now to talk more about that campus shooting, psychiatrist Jonathan Metzl, the director of the Center for Medicine, Health and Society at Vanderbilt University. He joins us from Nashville this morning. Professor, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I don't know if you listen to the Sunday morning political shows, but nearly every Republican presidential contender's response to the shooting in Oregon had to do with mental health, some version of what Mike Huckabee said on Friday. Listen to this.
We know that most of these people are mentally deranged, so do we need to do a better job in mental health? You bet we do. Do we need to have a better understanding of what the signs are? You bet we do.
Can even a skilled psychiatrist know whether any given person with a mental health issue will resort to violence against himself or others, Professor?
Well, on one hand, let me first of all say that I can understand, on one hand, the link, the rush to blame mental illness, because mass shootings seem so beyond the bounds of sanity. Who but a crazy person would kill innocent people, innocent children? And so, on one hand, I think that association makes a great deal of sense. At the same time, the research that I do really problematizes that link by saying that basically psychiatrists are not able, first of all, to predict which of the many patients they see are going to go on to commit some kind of violent act. And also, the association between mental illness and violence really individuates the problem and doesn't look at the bigger social context.
What are the effects, negative or otherwise, of viewing mass shootings through the mental health lens then?
Well, I think that basically what we see in mass shootings is the argument that we just heard from Mike Huckabee is this is the act of an individual deranged brain. If we could just stop this one individual. But what that does is it blocks the bigger question of where did this person get their guns? What's the larger cultural context in a way? And so what we see is when people blame mass shootings just on mental illness, on one hand it stigmatizes persons with mental illness, and it's also not a true representation of the larger picture of gun crime in the United States.
But we do see a repeat profile, don't we, emerging from many of these shootings? The shooters have often been white men, socially isolated, especially when it comes to these mass indiscriminate shootings. So what do issues pertain to that profile? How could they be better addressed?
Right. Well, that's a really good question. And let me just say, first of all, that if we were just trying to stop mass shootings, I think you're absolutely right. That if we're just trying to stop mass shootings, there is a particular profile that we see. Very often those people do suffer from particular symptoms like depression or paranoia or other kinds of symptoms. But the problem is that mass shootings are very statistically rare in relation to the bigger picture, which is gun crime in the United States. We have between 33 and 35,000 gun deaths a year in the United States. And so that profile doesn't hold true for the bigger picture of gun crime. The other issue is psychiatrists see hundreds of people a week who fit a very similar profile, and so very often psychiatrists will see people who are paranoid, who are angry, who are hostile, who fit the same racial and gender demographic, and it's simply impossible to hospitalize every single one of those patients.
And are there dangers and risks of profiling every person, especially when you're talking about children that seem socially different and isolated? Is it dangerous to consider them potentially gunmen or violent?
If we want to do something to stop gun violence writ large in the United States, this mass problem that is infecting our entire society in a particular way, I think really what we need to do is look at other preventative measures that maybe might enhance the mental health system, but also try to prevent other kinds of shootings. And so I think that Hillary Clinton was exactly right. I think Everytown USA is exactly right. That what we need to do is close the loopholes that make it easier for people who shouldn't have guns to get them. And really, that's not just a question of mental illness. That's a question of society.
Dr. Jonathan Metzl, thank you for your insights this morning.
Thanks so much.